A Florida woman is arrested for exposing herself at a Waffle House and licking the face of the manager. A young Florida man says he drove 120 miles an hour because he thought he was racing the police. A Florida schoolteacher is accused of crashing his car while drunk between classes. And Florida's new python hunting queen makes history. These are the stories for Friday on Weird AF News, and they all have a theme. They're from the state of Florida. All that tasty, meth-infused, degenerate news coming out of Florida this week for your ears. This is Florida Friday on Weird AF News. A Florida woman was arrested for flashing customers and licking the face of a Waffle House manager. Oh, it's just another day. It's just another day at a Waffle House. The story's out of Pensacola, Florida. This is the place that invented cola. Did you know that? Nose cola. Hey. All right, this Florida woman's name is legendary. Freedom Rider Zobrist. This girl. Freedom Rider Zobrist. I don't know who names their kid Freedom Rider, but you probably name your kid Freedom Rider with the idea that your kid will stay out of jail, right? Because freedom's in the name. Well, Freedom Rider Zobrist is probably going to spend some time in the clink. Freedom Rider was arrested outside a Waffle House after the restaurant manager said she exposed herself and danced in the parking lot. Well, she seems friendly and frisky. It's a very strange mating ritual, of course, but have you seen some of the mating rituals of other creatures in the animal kingdom? Like, before we judge this woman for trying to get some, maybe observe some videos of birds of paradise trying to get some, okay? Because they do some pretty wacky stuff here, and some of it looks illegal. And if you don't believe me, just watch that nature show where the guy goes, "And the birds of paradise, here they are. Ooh, here's a male trying to court a female. Ooh, this bird of paradise is doing all that he can to get some. He's stuck his head straight up his own arse. In fact, this is a move that they do." All right, enough silliness. Back to the story. The manager of the Waffle House told the police that Freedom Rider arrived early that morning. I'll tell you, this Freedom Rider name reminds me of the Knight Rider in Mad Max. Do you recall? The Knight Rider. Say his name and think of him whenever you look at the night sky. Now, this upstanding manager of the upstanding Waffle House asked Freedom Rider to leave the premises because of her behavior. And can you imagine what you have to do to be asked to leave a Waffle House? The sort of behavior that you see in a Waffle House on a daily. I mean, the bar's set pretty low, right? You could kind of be in there with no shoes and no shirt, tweaking in the corner, and they probably will allow you to just keep sipping on your coffee, I'd imagine. So let's find out what Freedom Rider, the Florida woman star of our story, did. She was asked to leave. She returned around noon, cursing and threatening to get a gun and shoot the manager and everybody in the restaurant. Well, I mean, that just seems like normal Florida behavior to me. What did she do to be asked to leave initially? It doesn't say. Freedom Rider walked out and then, quote, pulled down her pants, exposing her sexual organs, and started dancing around the parking lot. That was upon her return to the Waffle House. She flashed her organs. There she is in nature. The Florida woman, look at her. Covered in grime, but with a gleam in the eye. That's actually dilated pupils because she's on amphetamines. Nonetheless, there she is in all her glory, shaking her sexual organs in the parking lot, in the hopes of finding a mate or someone to purchase a short stack for her. All right, back to the glorious play-by-play of this wonderful behavior in the parking lot of a Waffle House. The manager went outside to confront Freedom, and that was when the manager got more than he could bargain for. He claims that Freedom Rider approached him and tried to grab his genitals. The manager said he tried to block her from grabbing his genitals, and that's when he licked him on both sides of his face. Wow, I mean, imagine seeing this, you just got women pulling down their pants and licking your face. I mean, this is probably the first Florida story that's made me want to buy a ticket and visit. No, there's been some others, all that free cocaine that washes up on the beach. That sounds like it might be a reason to go for a dip at a Florida beach. And also that, that Meth Island sounded kind of fun too. So I covered that story probably last year. You guys remember Meth Island? That was a great episode, by the way. Worth a re-listen. Okay, let's find out what happened to the manager, what kind of diseases he got from this face lick. He definitely needs to go to the hospital and get tested for everything. everything. He's probably going to need some rabies shots because you don't know what a Florida woman is carrying around. And on the surface of it, it's like face lick. That's pretty weird. Well, maybe Freedom Rider's identifying as a Labrador these days. You know, Labradors lick your face quite a bit, as do other breeds. So maybe that's where she's at in life. Now, we got some witnesses on the scene. These poor people are going to need some therapy. They say that they were blocked in and couldn't leave the parking lot because of her dancing and that she was being very loud and causing a huge disturbance. Freedom Rider Zobrist is charged with lewd and indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, battery, and assault. Assault, you know, because she showed her ass, I assume. Ma'am, this is a Waffle House. Ma'am, this is a Waffle House. Can you put your genitalia back into your clothing? Well, poor Freedom Rider. She's got a lot of charges here. No doubt she's going to lose a little bit of that freedom that she's currently enjoying. It's like she's enjoying it to the limit. Freedom Rider, say her name and think of her when you look at the Waffle House parking lot. A 25-year-old Florida man says he was driving 120 miles per hour because he thought he was racing the police at that time. You can't make this one up. A young driver in a Honda Civic hit triple-digit speeds on a Florida freeway because he genuinely believed he was caught up in a race, but not with another highway-dwelling motorist. He thought he was racing a police officer. That makes sense, right? Because, I mean, they always want to race, right? That's why they put the lights on. That means go, 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 right? I mean, where do you get your brain, sir? Like, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he didn't really believe that the police officer was racing him. He thought that was a great excuse to get out of this, you know, what's going to be an expensive ticket. But, you know, you could have came up with some way better excuses, Florida man. Just tell the Florida police you were on your way to stop your side chick from getting an abortion. He would have let you go right away. Or that you were running late for the Waffle House annual face lick. The article says here, this 25-year-old Florida man thought it was a great idea to take his little blue Honda Civic way up into felony speeds recently. According to the Lake Mary, Florida Police Department, this young driver hit speeds of 120 miles per hour. Well, you know, I think the real miracle in this story is how he got a Honda Civic to go 120 miles per hour. I mean, I've owned a Honda Civic. Yeah, tough stuff to get up there. Mine would start to shake at about 90, so... But then again, you know, mine was a 2010, so it wasn't like I had a modern one. Mine still had a radio. I don't know if you guys, any of you drive a car with a radio still? No, I don't mean satellite radio. I mean old school radio. 94.7 The Wave. That kind of radio, you know. Were you still hearing commercials? 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. Like anyone hearing this crap still? Yeah, this was in my life. It was in my life way past a deadline of being remotely acceptable, I might add. Now, when the police pulled over our Florida man here, which have they named him yet? I can't. Did I skip a name here? Let me go back up. They didn't name this guy. They just say a 25-year-old Florida man. They're saving his identity here because he still might have they're like, this guy might have a chance he's 25. So we're going to bet on him maybe he's the future of Florida. According to authorities, the driver told the police that he drove over 100 miles an hour because he believed the officer was, quote, racing him. Seriously. Racing him. Needless to say, the police officers arrested him for dangerous, excessive speeding. In addition to his recklessness, the Florida man in this instance broke the state's new what's called super speeder law. Did you know Florida has a super speeder law? Don't be super speeding in Florida. This law states that drivers will face criminal charges and even jail time for exceeding the posted limit by 50 miles per hour or driving at speeds at over 100 miles per hour pretty much anywhere. Oh boy, Florida's cracking down with their super speeder law. You ought to pass a super genitals law for anybody that whips out their genitals really quickly in Florida. It says here this super speeder law has already resulted in many Floridians getting arrested for their recklessness, including an arrest just 2 minutes after the law took effect in July. 2 minutes after it took effect, great. But it's probably just wise to assume you're not racing a police officer when you see one driving very quickly. Oh, that's lovely of this article to give us that advice. But there could be Florida citizens reading this. They need to hear that because they think they're living in the world of Grand Theft Auto, it seems.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
A Florida teacher is accused of drunkenly crashing his car between classes. This poor Florida man. You think he's going to lose his job? What do you think? This isn't going to be on my performance review, is it? The fact that I drunk drove between classes during the day, during the week. Okay. A Florida elementary school. He's an elementary school teacher. He's been arrested after he was involved in a drunken car crash in a campus parking lot. So on the school property. Well, if we're being honest, teaching school in Florida, how easy is that? It's very stressful, right? You don't want to be there. Who wants to do that? Imagine. I mean, I would need 4 packs of Guinness every day if I was going to teach the offspring of Florida men. I mean, sheesh. Daddy's going to definitely need a little bourbon in my coffee. That's right, some bourbon in my coffee. I need that bourbon in my coffee. Is there a country song called Bourbon in My Coffee? There should be. There totally should be. I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I've had some little bourbon in the coffee before I recorded a Weird AF News episode because some days I'm just, I'm not in the mood. And some days I also need a little bit of the, what do they call that? Hair of the dog. It's not very often, but it's definitely happened. I've even recorded some episodes totally wasted. Do you guys ever, how many of you have been listening for 4 years or more? You definitely might remember a couple of episodes where I was just blasted. But, I don't have a boss, so I'm the boss. I'm the boss of me. All right, I should probably get back to the details of this Florida drunk driving teacher episode segment. On the second day of classes at Explorer K-8 School in Spring Hill, Florida, Florida man Philip Skyrie, I can't say his name, who cares? He was arrested on Tuesday and later charged with driving under the influence. According to the sheriff's office, they say they found the 32-year-old 8th grade language arts teacher just before 11:45 a.m. Well, that's a little bit late of a start for a Florida man, 11:45 a.m.? They're usually pretty tipsy by 9, I'd say. Okay, so he was found unconscious behind the wheel of his vehicle in the aftermath of what they're calling a single vehicle collision. He's unconscious, 11:45 a.m. The school resource deputy was first on the scene after the Florida man had driven his car into a fence in the school's rear parking lot. On school property, passed out behind the wheel. Unbelievable, man. It was the second day of classes. He couldn't get through day two. Day 2. Bro. The deputies say that they found the Florida man passed out behind the wheel, surrounded by several empty single-serve alcohol containers within his reach. Yeah, I mean, in Florida, this is called catching the vibe, bro. I don't know why everybody's so up in arms. He's just trying to catch a vibe while on the clock. Hey, come on. At least he did it on his lunch break or between classes. It wasn't, he could have driven his car through the classroom. I mean, that's on the menu. The suspect was transported to a local hospital where one deputy claimed that they could smell alcohol on the suspect's breath. Yeah, you don't even need to say that, dude. After he was cleared and sober, he left the hospital and was transported to the county detention center where he's currently being held on the bond. The county school district stated that this Florida man has been placed on administrative leave pending the results of an ongoing investigation. And so it's probably like a little bit of a paid vacation for him. That's what happens for teachers and law enforcement as well. Maybe this was his plan all along. Now, former students and parents of children that this Florida man, Philip, taught expressed some shock over the arrest. Here's a quote from a person on Facebook. "He is the most amazing teacher. My heart is broken over this. I'm thankful nobody was hurt, that he's okay. I hope he gets the help he needs. He's made such a positive impact on my children's lives." Another person wrote, "He was my teacher a couple years ago. He's an amazing teacher and an amazing person." Well, it sounds like people love this guy, so I hope he gets the help he needs. And it's a shame, though, he probably won't be allowed to teach in Florida. Although, who knows? I don't know. They seem to be very lax with the teacher qualifications in the state of Florida. That's why we get things like Child Fight Club. Florida's new python hunting queen makes history and catches 60 snakes. We have here a Florida woman doing some good things down there in the culture, in the swamps of Florida, catching them pythons, that invasive species that makes a lot of the news segments on Florida Friday episodes. A lot of python-related news because they're everywhere down in Florida and they cause huge problems. And every year they do a contest and they give out prizes and awards to the people that catch many pythons. And this woman, the python hunting queen, has made history, apparently. She caught 60 snakes in the state's annual 10-day python challenge. She eliminated the invasive Burmese python species that's been wreaking havoc with the Everglades ecosystem. Well, she didn't completely eliminate it. She grabbed 60 snakes. It's a nice contribution, but you can imagine how many snakes are in there. You're going to need thousands of people working around the clock to get this job done if you want to do it right. It says almost 1,000 people actually participated in this year's 2025 Python Challenge. It's a 10-day hunt in the steamy South Florida heat that this year made history on two fronts, with the first woman to win the grand prize and the most total pythons caught since the competition began in 2013. Fabulous. And now we have here the emergence of whom they're calling, the Python Queen. Da-na-na-na-na, Florida Python Queen. Da-na-na-na-na, you know what I mean. She should get her own theme song and a plaque. Taylor Stanberry's 29 years old. She's a Naples, Florida resident. She's quite beautiful. She was introduced as the 2025 Florida Python Challenge winner. At 4 feet 11 inches tall, Taylor is taking home the grand prize of $10,000 for catching 60 snakes. That's a pretty sizable prize right there, 10 grand. That'll get you a lot of waffles at the Waffle House. Now, it says here, Taylor is the first Florida woman to win the grand prize in Florida's Python Challenge. Overall, the catches were also monumental this year, with almost 300 pythons captured over the 10-day period. This is the most in the python contest history. The contest brings together amateur and professional snake catchers to hunt within certain zones of South Florida for these pythons, which threaten the state's ecology and are found in the Everglades, preying on birds, preying on mammals, preying on other reptiles, even tweakers. Challengers must capture and humanely kill the pythons and not harm any of the native species. I don't know how you humanely kill the python. I'm sure there's a method. They're not sharing in this article. Anyone have any ideas of how you humanely kill a python? We just stick it in a bucket, cover it up with a Bluetooth speaker inside, playing Baby Shark on a loop. That wouldn't be humane, Jonesy. That's torturous. Yeah, you're right. Now, our python queen Taylor eliminated 33 female pythons and 27 males. That's the total. The longest snake that she caught was just over 9 feet and weighed 16 pounds. Wow, and she's such a small girl. She's only 4'11". What a trooper, man. She's a beast. This girl's great. And in the photo, she's wearing a T-shirt that says Florida Ma'am, M-A-A-M, Florida Ma'am. That's hilarious. I should sell those on the merch site, although I don't have the copyright. So now they interviewed another female python catcher named Donna. She's a contract hunter for the South Florida Water Management District. Oh, she does this on a regular and gets paid for it. You ought to hire the Python Queen if you need someone. Donna nabbed 56 snakes during the Python Challenge. She brought in 19 during the 2024 contest when the event was held August 9th through the 18th. The grand prize winner last year nabbed only 20 snakes. Wow, so Taylor tripled that with 60 snakes. These ladies are just really skilled at grabbing long snakes, guys. You know, that's the kind of woman I like. Now it says here, Taylor is a contract hunter with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Oh, she's already a hired gun as it is. She's got a lot of experience. She said she's been hunting pythons for 10 years, but this was the first year she entered the challenge. She says that she's a digital creator with an exotic animal sanctuary. She's got an exotic animal sanctuary? Now, careful, in Florida, that can mean she's got some illegal big cats. I mean, they just love their big cats in Florida. There's probably more tigers in Florida than there are in Africa. The article says, while this year's python participation is higher than last year's, the number of hunters has fluctuated over the years from a high of 1,600 in 2013 to just 600 during the early pandemic year of 2021. Participants hunted in designated areas that stretch from western Palm Beach County to the Tamiami Trail in the Big Cypress Wildlife Management Area. Other management areas included in the Python Challenge are Holy Island, Holy Land. That's a place, Holy Land, but they spell it Holey. Come to the Holy Land and grab snakes. Also, a Rottenberger and Southern Glades. This was also the first year that Everglades National Park allowed people to hunt within the park during the challenge as well. Now, you're probably wondering, how many total pythons have been caught, Jonesy? Good question. More than 16,000 pythons have been removed by hunters from the South Florida Water Management District and Wildlife Commission since 2019. Barely putting a dent in the python population, which probably runs into the hundreds of thousands, I'd imagine. But never fear, they're using technology to battle these invasive pythons. I covered a story recently about robot bunnies that have been deployed to help cull the python population, so we'll see how that goes. Robo bunnies, that's what we need. Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness in this closet? Can I get a witness? Hi, my friends. Thank you for spending a little time with your buddy Jonesy in the Florida Friday episode. I think it was what's called a doozy. Isn't that what the kids are calling it? They're calling it a doozy. The kids are saying that my podcast slaps, so I've been really good about it because I like it when the things that I do slap. That makes me feel really cool. I mean, it slaps, man. Anyways, what are you doing this weekend, guys? Come on, let your buddy Jonesy know what you're getting into. All right, I want to know about your little degenerate weekend lifestyle. All right, share it with me. Maybe not share it all of it with me. Keep some of that to yourself. You want to have secrets in life. Take them to your grave. They're fun, having those secrets. No one needs to know I do this. I did some drugs in the bathroom. Oh, my goodness. Anyways, I hope you're having a great weekend. I'm very busy these days doing shows, and I've been auditioning actors to act in this thing that I wrote that I'm going to shoot at the end of the month. So I've been really excited about that. Going to shoot some videos, guys, and I think they're pretty funny. So we'll find out soon enough, I'm sure. Anyways, all of that stuff will be on my YouTube channel and Instagram at Funny Jones. Follow at Funny Jones on YouTube and Instagram. That's where you can get some videos of stand-up comedy, of course, but then there's sketches and whatnot. Anyways, here I am trying to pimp out my social media. I should just shut the hell up, right? Yeah, okay, I'll just shut up about that. Hey, listen, if you want to support the show because you just, I don't know, you had a scratch ticket victory, or you decided that you're not going to pay rent this month, so you got an extra $2,500 to your name. Please consider donating to Weird AF News and Jonesy here, and donating to the cause, which is a one-man, 5-day-a-week news production inside a closet. I might add a hot closet. It is August right now in Southern California, in case you don't know. Anyways, but I'm in here putting in the minutes, so hook it up. Go to weirdafnews.com. You can buy me a coffee right there. Click on the coffee banner or join the Patreon. Join the Patreon. That's the way to do it. And then when you join the Patreon, if you feel like it, you can join the Patreon-only Weird AF News Fantasy Football League Season 2 and try and beat Jonesy. And if anyone beats me, I'm going to send you a gift. All right, so check that out, patreon.com/weirdafnews, or go to weirdafnews.com, the official website, and good luck with your life, man.